Join James Popsies, Nigel Danson and myself in this and the next few weeks videos where we go on an incredible trip to Svalbard and eastern Greenland. We'll be sailing with Aurora Expedition, which is the same company we also conduct the Antarctic trip with. On this incredible journey we'll encounter everything from gorgeous sea ice, epic vistas, the most incredible glacier wall and all sorts of wildlife that I have never seen before. After a couple of days in the northernmost town on earth, Longyearbyen, where we experienced what the town and surroundings had to offer and Nigel and James did some street photography, be sure to check out their YouTube channels too. We boarded our ship, the Sylvia Earl, and during the late hours we set out on our expedition. So, good morning and welcome to Minimalist Paradise. So, I have literally just woken up. It was announced that we had some sea fog and we are inside a fjord. So we have very calm water and then we have a lot of birds flying just above the sea here, the fjord. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. So I'm trying to capture the birds as they fly just on top of the water. This completely clean scene with no horizon, just a little bit of water in the front and then a line of birds as my subject, because there's basically nothing else to look at in the scene. I'm using the 50 to 400 millimeter and I'm shooting at between 70 and 100 millimeter or so. And this morning is just... There's not a whole lot to it. It's all about just having a fast enough shutter speed to freeze the birds. So right now I'm shooting at 1/600th of a second with an f-stop of 8 and I put it on auto ISO, simply just so the camera itself figures out what ISO it wants to shoot at. Oh, this is beautiful. Phenomenal scene here. I'm a simple man. I like my minimalism. So right now we're heading up towards the third largest ice sheet in the world. And it is just absolutely unbelievable. So we are just slowly cruising up. And here in the background, you cannot see it, I will put in some B-roll. There's literally just a wall of ice. It looks stunning. I rarely do get the goosebumps these days, but this one here, oh, amazing. The area is just so bleak, but calm and minimal. Like there's no waves whatsoever on the ocean. There's just icebergs, small icebergs, ice sheets, a few walruses here and there. Loads of birds flying around. And then we just have these beautiful, moody clouds. It just looks stunning. So we have now come all the way up very close to that big wall of ice, and I gotta say, this here is all the way up with seeing the Northern Lights for the first time or seeing an active volcano for the first time. This is just unbelievable. So what we're going to do now is that we have our permits ready, everything. So we are going to fly our drones and yeah, just lean back and enjoy whatever I capture. I guess I do owe you my reaction to this. That was unbelievable. This here is exactly what I've been wanting from the Arctic since I saw a photo like this like 6 or 7 years ago, and I got exactly what I want. I cannot believe it. These photos just turned out so incredibly well. My favorite is probably this straight-on vertical panorama of the waterfall with the meltwater streams on top that just continues forever into the background. This one from the side is also one I really love, and whether it's this version or this one from a bit further back, I tried positioning the glacier wall from the lower right corner. Lines generally look better when they enter or exit from a corner. I did the same with this photo, which I photographed with the 3x zoom on the Mavic 3 Pro. It gives a pretty good perspective compression, so it's easier to see the bends in the glacier wall. And if you so far enjoy this video, I'd appreciate a like and hit the subscribe button if you want to see even more landscape photography. And if you struggle with composition and want to learn even more, be sure to get my easy to read ebooks on exactly that topic. There are plenty of examples for each topic and minimal text as to get to the point fast. There are links to both of them in the description of the video. So I am just down here in Sylvia Earle's library. Just want to show you where we are geographically. So we have the US over here, we have Greenland, Iceland, Britain, Denmark, Norway, and we are actually all the way up here. This is Svalbard, this little archipelago right here. So we started here, sailed around, and now we are on our way over here to East Greenland. And you've probably seen a lot of maps in your lifetime, and you have to appreciate looking at Greenland right here. It is obviously big, but sometimes when you see it on those 2D maps, it looks as if Greenland is at the same size of Africa. It really isn't. Not at all. One thing I really appreciate about working with Aurora Expedition is all the education you get about the Arctic. There are several super interesting presentations along the trip, and Aurora is also helping out by being in the Citizen Science project. Being a citizen scientist is basically helping real scientists by collecting data, and in this case from the far reaches of the Arctic. Scientific expeditions to Svalbard can be incredibly expensive, so this is another way Aurora Expedition can help protect and educate about the polar regions. So right now we are out on the Zodiac, and this is unbelievable. The bleakness and the moodiness of this area We're just on the Zodiac and sailing between all the ice, as you can see here on the B-roll. Trying to get a shot here and there. This is just like Arctic minimalism, moodiness, photographing towards the big wall of ice, trying to capture some birds in front of the waterfalls. Like, it's a little bit hard, like, you know, you still need to think about your aperture and make sure that your photo is sharp and push the shutter speed up so it really is sharp, which means you also have to raise the ISO a little bit. Oh yeah, we are just like cruising around here in the ice, trying to find different things to photograph. Just having birds flying just above the water through the ice. Just the experience of this is unbelievable. Do you like it, Nigel?
Doesn't get better than this.
No.
There's a seal.
Oh, there's a seal. Oh my God. Walrus. So right now we're photographing the walrus, and this is just like, this is so stupid because I'm a landscape photographer, but I feel like David Attenborough. It's so dumb. Oh, it's so good, so beautiful. I just captured a shot where he's looking like straight at me. I also captured one where he's laying down and there's like a pack of birds flying straight above him. Just put in the settings, there's so much light that it is relatively easy. Shooting at f8 and then just 1/1000th of a second shutter speed. It just captures everything. And the Sony A7R5's animal eye detection, it's just straight on all the time. And also with the Tamron 50-400 that I'm using right now, it just works, it just captures everything. Unbelievable. I gotta say, I would have laughed if someone told me one of my favorite photos of this trip would have been of a walrus, but I really like this photo. I do like the one with the birds, but this simple photo straight on with the walrus looking at me, there's just some kind of hard to put in words, moody, disconnected connection, a sort of longing or yearning between nature and the viewer. Is it us looking at him or him looking at us? I don't know. I may put too much into it, but I really do love this photo. After this incredible encounter, we headed further into the ice field and found some beautiful small icebergs where I had to get the wide-angle lens out. Throughout the trip I used a medium to long lens on my Sony A7R5, either the Sony 100-400 or the Tamron 50-400mm. That one I'll talk more about in next week's video. On the other camera, my Sony A7R3, I used the 16-35mm f4. Having two bodies with two different lenses gave me a lot of flexibility and opportunity to change fast. After the small icebergs we moved back towards the glacier shelf to photograph another big waterfall. It was quite amazing, but it was actually a smaller waterfall along with another part of the ice wall that I actually preferred, simply because of the beautiful abstract patterns. The water was just so blue or turquoise that I really needed to keep it in mind when editing the photos as to not make it look fake. I've tried to go for quite a natural look on the photos, compensating mainly for the lack of exposure and contrast, while also trying to bring out the details in the eyes. If you want to learn how I edit my photos, be sure to enroll in my huge Photoshop for landscape photographers post-processing course. I recently updated it with new videos covering the new features, and if you are already enrolled, you can watch them for free. The course is about 20 hours long, so I cover everything I know about landscape photography post-processing. There is a link and a coupon code to save a bit of money down in the description of the video. This evening we went to what I think is the biggest amount of birds in one place I've ever seen in my entire life. A huge colony of common guillemots, in the Nordic languages known as a lumvi. And one thing was just how massive the colony was and how it looked like a swarm of flies. Just look at the video here. The colony was actually situated on these huge characteristic cliffs that also looked like something I'd never seen before. Sailing around in the Zodiacs, it was quite hard to do any kind of landscape photography, simply just because it didn't have any foregrounds. But hopefully this video can give just a small idea about how huge this place was. Since landscape photography wasn't really on the table, and wildlife photography was the most obvious thing to do, I honed my skills in photographing birds. It wasn't easy, and no, these photos don't really tell a story, but at least I managed to get them sharp and my subject backlit against the darker cliffs, which looks pretty damn good, if I have to say so myself. But wow, do you have to be fast when photographing the birds. And as an extra little bonus, we also came by this little guy that I managed to photograph. Nigel, James and I run this trip again next year, so if you want to join, check out the link in the description along with the links to my ebooks on composition and editing course if you want to learn more about landscape photography. I hope you enjoyed the video and the photos. Thanks for watching.